Hey, what's up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of the Persistent Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we're with Mohamed, Ahmed. What is going on, man?
Hey, David. Doing great. I'm saying hello from rainy Seattle, even though we're springtime, but it's still rainy here and gloomy, unfortunately.
Is it? Yeah. Isn't it always like raining in Seattle or something? Like it's
Uh,
like
I would say
70% of the time?
9 months out of the 12 months.
Yeah.
And then the other
Okay.
three, it's really, really long days.
9 out of 12. Yeah, that's about 70%, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I think I hit it. Okay, well, hey, Seattle's nice. I was out there once years ago. We went on the they have that needle, right? Is it the space?
The
No, not the
Space
needle.
Needle. Yeah.
Is it the Space Needle?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the Starbucks over there. We went on the tour of like the dock or whatever it is, like the waterfront
Yep. Yep.
area.
Pike Place. Yeah. Pike Place Market. It's one of the
Yeah,
iconic places of Seattle. Yeah. Close to the
it's fun.
waterfront. It
Fun
changed
trip.
changed a lot though recently.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Boston, so I just remember that was being one of the longest flights I've ever taken in my life because in the exact opposite end. But anyway, I'm glad you're here with us today. You are an entrepreneur, you're a CEO, and today we're talking about something really important, the A word, which is adversity. Um, all of the entrepreneurs know a lot about adversity. What do you know about adversity, Mo?
um, it's the inevitable of your entrepreneurial journey. You have to learn how to deal with that. This is one of the few things that I learned in my journey. Um, actually, um, the way that I think of the entrepreneurial journey is like climbing a mountain. If you ask any mountaineer, they would have to go through serious conditioning before they do any kind of mountain climbing, and that conditioning is critical and super important to be able to cope and deal with that unforgiving journey.
Mm. And when you say conditioning, uh,
Yeah. Again,
what
think
do you
of
what
it.
do you mean
Yeah.
by
If we use
conditioning?
if we use the same analogy, I mean, if any mountaineer before they get started with their journey, they have to again make sure that they're physically ready for it, mentally ready for it, emotionally, even at the family level, they have to go and make sure that everything is ready for them, or that at least they make everything ready for them to start the journey. If you watch them the movie Everest and see how it could be unforgiving and it could be almost a deadly journey. Entrepreneurship is not like that, but it has lots of challenges, and as a result of that, if you're not ready to deal with those, you may just quit
Mm.
and throw the towel prematurely. That we know the statistics about the startups, that most of the startups fail, or 95% of them fail within the first 2 3 years of their founding. And if you dig deeper, superficially or at the surface, everyone would say, well, they're building something that no one really wants. Yes, of course, that if you look uh, at it again from the surface, you can think of it this way. But in my point of view and the way that I see it, and from talking to entrepreneurs, is because entrepreneurs give up too early, or they do not have the right mindset and the mental fitness, if you will, to adapt and move from one point to another, or from one challenge to another, without losing themselves throughout the journey. So the conditioning is all about how do you acquire the right mindset, the right elements in you as an entrepreneur, to increase your chances of success and improve your endurance over time. And that's one of the pieces that I believe that lots of entrepreneurs miss. They miss it whether you're in the Silicon Valley or anywhere else in the world. If you do not really address that, no matter how much resources you have, you're not going to be able to make it.
Mm. Yeah. Funny, I was talking to one of my clients before this call, and he runs a real estate company, and he's thinking about bringing on some new people, and I told them, I said, before you, I said, one of the prerequisites that you should have in place is they need to be prepared that they're going to make no money for 90 days. So they have to be in a situation financially where they can make it 90 days without making any money. Otherwise, they're going to start stressing out, and you're going to have a lot of problems. And how do I know this? Because I've built multiple real estate brokerages and I ran offices with 500 agents. And so, but that's what you're talking about. It's that mental fortitude, that mindset. Then it's the emotional part, right? Like, all, when people are working and things aren't working out the right way. Now, being a real estate is very similar, Mohammed, to being an entrepreneur, because really you are your own boss in a lot of ways, right?
Yep.
And so I just loved everything you said. I'm gonna toss it back to you in a minute, but let me just tell people who you are. You are a serial entrepreneur, a product visionary, and author of The Inside Out Entrepreneur: Becoming the Entrepreneur that You Were Meant to Be. Over 2 decades of experience in AI. Man, I am AI. I love that. Right now, cloud computing and entrepreneurship. Mo has consistently transformed ambitious ideas into groundbreaking realities. Also, as a founder and CEO, Mo has built and led a startup from the concept to a successful multi-million-dollar exit with a 7x markup. A journey that taught him entrepreneurial success begins from within. There's a lot more there. You have a Ph.D. in computer science, UConn, hey, University of Connecticut, Huskies.
Yep.
Good stuff, man. What else? What else do you want to tell our listeners about you? I think we covered a lot, but you tell me.
Yeah, one of the things that I would like to, to probably share with everyone is how I started and how I ended up where I am right now, because I guess that could be relevant to a lot of your audience and everyone listening to us right now. I started as an engineer. I studied computer science. I went to big companies like Microsoft and Amazon and others, and I thought at a certain point that, what, I have everything that I need to build my own company. And I was so focused on building the product. And certainly that was one of the good skills that I acquired over the years. But when I started my startup, the first one, I did everything wrong that my mentors told me not to do.
Mm,
And it was, for me, it's pretty much like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think about, failure, and, I do a misstep after another misstep and so on. And that made me actually think, what's wrong with me? I mean, what is going on? And I realized that I'm losing my balance. Sometimes or most of the time, I had an idea about what I need to do next, to sell to my first 10 customers, or do a proper marketing or proper kind of product validation and so on. But I wasn't doing that. And for a very simple reason, I was not balanced. I was not really having the right perspective. That's number one. And as a result of that, wrong mindset started to creep in. And as a result of that, more and more of wrong decisions. And the journey, rather than becoming something that is fulfilling and rewarding, it became just a constant pain every single day without really growing. I did not feel that I'm growing in my journey, whether professionally or personally.
mm,
And I learned throughout that journey, and that's the reason actually I wrote that book, that it's not about only the mechanics of building the startup. They're important. You need to know how to validate your product. You need to know how to do the sales and marketing for early stage products and startups. But in addition to that, you need to know the psychology of it. So, for example, you need to know how to deal with the rejection. This is just part of your first sales. How do you deal with an imperfect product? You're never going to have a perfect product in the early stages of your company. How to deal with your employees and coach them and focus on the people aspect. All of these are pieces that anyone coming from a technology background like myself can easily miss. And that was the major transformation in my journey, from becoming from an engineer to becoming an entrepreneur focused on people. And then talking to more entrepreneurs after setting my last company is something that is prevailing within the
Mm.
entrepreneurial community. All entrepreneurs almost are facing the same issues, and they're facing the same issues again because when you talk to VCs or read in the media what is going on with startups, they all focus on the superficial stuff or the mechanics of building a startup. And the media, of course, contributed a lot to that. You would see in the media, TechCrunch and others, two, three founders, they look fresh, they're sitting on a couch, and they would tell you, here's the 10 slide deck that landed those guys $20 million. And you think, it's just a simple process, but it's not, right? And there's a lot of transformation that need to take place before you reach that stage. So that's one of the biggest takeaway for me. That usually is that it's not mentioned in the bio, and that's one of the things that I would like actually everyone to think of when they you know think about starting their own company, their own business, whether in technology or some other field. But that's key to your success.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, listen, it's everything you've talked about today so far is I think that those are the things that most people believe it's going to be a lot easier. They see, oh, well, this person's doing that, and oh, I got a great idea now, and let me just go out there and launch my idea. And half the people don't even make it to the to the startup phase because they talk to people about their idea, and a couple people tell them, oh, I don't think that's going to work, or that doesn't make sense. So then they give up right there, right? And then
Yeah.
the people that actually make it to a product, then they don't realize how much, we call it the suck sometimes, right? That initial, I don't know if you've heard that term, but it's like that first, whatever it is, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, depending on, it's that time of just like nothing's working, or things work, but then, two steps forward, one step back, two steps back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about that mindset. You said giving up too early earlier. I wrote that down. That's kind of what I'm alluding to. So how does somebody know if they're giving up too early or not on their dream or their business or their
Yeah.
startup?
Look, it's definitely a tricky piece. It's the way that I think of building a startup is like mining for gold or diamond, right? It's you keep digging, and sometimes you have the temptation to give up, and maybe that next big piece of diamond it just a few inches away, and sometimes it's not. Okay, but the question here is, what do you need? What qualities do you need to develop? I guess the a better perspective is, what qualities do I need to develop as an entrepreneur, and what do I need to focus on to make sure that I can endure the journey and keep going and build it from a right perspective. And it's nothing really magic about that. We always talk about resiliency and robustness, right? And but what's important is, what do they mean, and how do you apply this to your mindset? Because I come from engineering background, I looked up the definition of resilience and robustness, and I wanted to know, how is that related to mindset and us as humans. So in engineering, building a structure that you call it, a robust structure, is a structure that when you put it out there, let's say a bridge, you build a bridge, and then a heavy car, walks on that or runs on that bridge. The bridge might get some sort of might get bent a bit, but once that truck goes out of the bridge at the other side, the bridge need to go back to its form. That's robustness, right? Now, resilience is, how do you make sure that the bridge is strong enough that will not actually get deformed permanently because of that pressure. Now, if you map this to your mindset, let's say you have a growth mindset and you face an adversity, as what we talked about at the beginning. Your mindset will have the proper resiliency and robustness if your mind is not deformed permanently, is not going to, okay, you get the problem, and at the end of the day, you're not able to solve it completely, and then all of a sudden you throw the towel. Actually, I share a couple of stories from my own experience with everyone listening to us. At the beginning of my journey, I raised a few $100,000, and I got credits from AWS, Amazon Web Services, to build our first application on their cloud. That was $100,000 credit. We spent 3 months. I looked at our credit. We roughly had $50,000. And then we had another 3 months remaining to finish our product and demonstrate it. So at one point, we were entering the conference to demonstrate our product. And as I was entering the venue, I got an email from AWS telling us that, hey guys, you owe us $65,000. So after just having $50,000 credit with them, now we owe them $65,000 in just 3 months. And by the way, back then we had only $75,000 in the bank and 0 customers because we're just about to sell our product. Because it was early in my journey and I did not have the proper resilience and robustness, everything just went dark in front of me. And I went to that negative spiral for how long? For almost 4 weeks. I just spent 4 weeks just thinking about it without making an action. So that's an example of someone who did not have enough resiliency and robustness in their mindset.
But so for people listening though, that's a good example. That story is a great story of something happening you were not expecting, and it puts you in a tough position, right? But what is it in the moment? Because I hear what you're saying, but is it just like I got to suck it up and I got to keep going, or is there something else you can do? Like, how do you deal with that in the moment?
Yes, your response is what makes a difference. So let's say something happened. One of your employees screwed up, and they made that happen. Now, what would make a difference is your response, and your response is about how do I move forward from that. Now, one person could say, you know what, I'm done. My company is dead. Or you could say, you know what, no, I think I still have a way out of that. Like, can I go and negotiate with AWS? Can I go and maybe find another one? And actually, that's what we did. I picked up the phone, called one of my friends at another cloud provider. It was Google. And I told him, can you give us $100,000 credit? He said, yes. Since you're a startup, I think we can give you that. So I got the $100,000 credit. And then I went to AWS and I told them, hey guys, this is too much. Can we negotiate the bill?
Okay, but before we continue, so this happened 4 weeks later. So you waited 4 weeks before you made the call.
4 weeks. Why? Because I was just in my negative loop, loop, and I was not able to respond immediately. I'll tell you another story, the opposite of that, and the difference. So 4 years after, okay, so just to help everyone compare and contrast. So 4 years after, the company grew up. We raised more funds, we had customers, we have a product, and then out of the blue, a bigger company decided to approach us to acquire us. Okay, that's great. We did all the due diligence. They met my engineers. They looked at our bank accounts. They looked at our source code. Everything was just lined up for us to finish that acquisition. 2 hours before signing, they backed off. They got an offer from another company and they had to sign with them. So they put us under the bus and they said, we're not going to acquire you. Now, that other situation is way more acute than the first one. Their employees on the stake, the company already, made some progress where we're burning a lot more money. We did not fundraise because we were so focused on that acquisition because we thought the finish line is so close. Now, what I did then, just in 2 hours, after recovering from or absorbing what happened, I called a few friends. They connected me with a few CEOs, and I told them, I have an offer from this company. Are you interested to buy our company as well? So a few of them said, yes, we're interested. And by the end of that same week, so that problem, that issue happened on Monday. Before Friday, same week, I had 4 meetings with 4 CEOs who were interested to buy the company. You see the difference between the first one and the second one? How fast you react, how fast you basically absorb and respond back. There's a big difference between the first one and the second one. When I did not have the enough resiliency and robustness in my thinking and able to really absorb and think quickly versus the other one. Of course, I did it with the help of mentors and people around me, and I had a support system. I'm not Superman, but at the end of the day, you need to bring yourself together as fast as you can and believe that there is always a solution, right? There's
Mm.
always a way to fix a problem. That's a big difference. This is what defines, I would say, resiliency and robustness. Having someone who would have enough resiliency and robustness to keep them going.
So really what we're talking about, so both examples you shared, one example took you 4 weeks to recover, the other one took you 2 hours to recover. There's nothing wrong with listen, sometimes take 2 hours, man. Go on a pity party for 2 hours and do your thing and then just get back at it, right? Or maybe 30 minutes, whatever it is, but
Yep.
4 weeks. But how do I guess the question I'm trying to get to is, how do they have to go through that 4 weeks first and then learn, okay, I just went through that, I'll never do that again? Or is there a shortcut that they can
That
just from day one, we teach them like, okay, how do we get to that 2 hours on the first time something?
that's a great question. In the first situation, I did not have the right support system. And the way that I think about it, that you need three types of people to be with you in that journey that would help you to recover very quickly. And you need to really know the distinction between the three of them. So the first one is, of course, an advisor. That's the known term. Everyone talks about an advisor. But the advisor is not the mentor. And we're going to talk about the mentor because that's the next one. But an advisor is someone who would show you around the corner, would tell you what's in the business world, what's going to happen next if you make this decision or if you do not make that decision. If you go and talk to an enterprise customer, for example, you need to make sure that you're ready to go in that dance with them for 6 months at least. This is what's going to happen. They're going to ask you for this. So this is an advisor. They're focused on the business aspect. The second role, which is very, very important, and we should not confuse it with an advisor, is the mentor. And the mentor is someone who would challenge your mindset and would challenge you in those situations. That's the person that would help you to reduce those 4 weeks to 2 hours. And also would help you to grow very fast. I'll give you an example. One of my mentors told me, we were talking about leadership and hiring people and how they should get the ownership in the startup. And he asked me one question: who do you think is helping the other? Are you helping your employees by giving them money to work on an interesting problem, or are they helping you to realize your vision?
So, your vision, yep.
Yeah. And that's important for you to look at. Of course, they both go side by side, but it's important for you to have that balanced approach. And he kept challenging my mindset. I thought at the beginning, well, helping everyone by having a really good job working on a problem that worth their time and effort. I said, no, you need to think of it the other way around, because they could have an opportunity somewhere else that could be better than your startup, especially with the high risk that your startup have. So you need to think about it differently. So that's an example of a mentor challenging your mindset. The same thing what happened, in the acquisition or that failed acquisition. And the third role is your friend and family. And people would say, yeah, of course, yeah, friend and family will support me. But there's also some tricky parts to that. When you have a friend, you want to have a friend. When we grow up, sometimes we can pick our friends, right? And when you grow up, you need to have a friend who's ahead of you in their journey, one way or another. I have a lot of my friends who already work at Microsoft and AWS. But when I go and talk with them, I'm about to run out of funding, or I'm having that issue with some of my employees. They will always think or support me from the lens of their position in those big enterprises, which is completely different from working in a startup. So you want to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with friends that in the same situation, or at least you used to be in the same startup boat one way or another. And when it comes to family, you need to educate your family about your journey. This is very, very important, because I believe that the family of the entrepreneurs is as special as the entrepreneur themselves.
Yeah.
So they need to be treated differently, and you need to support them at the beginning so that they can support you midway. So these three roles, you must have them, and that's how you can build your support system. And again, get to what you mentioned at the beginning: is how do I get into those 2 hours or even 30 minutes, and then
Yeah.
I bounce back very quickly.
Yeah. Well, it also brings us back to the beginning when you give the example of climbing Mount Everest. And I think if you go back and look at that journey in the beginning, most people did not make it. Most people died, right? But then eventually people started making it, and then they showed people how to do it. A model became right. Like all of a sudden now there's a plan, there's a path to do it, and then other people started following that. And I think that's similar to what we're talking about here, right? Not trying to do this on your own and just figure it out, but actually find someone that's done what you want to do, and as well as support, like you're talking about, to support staff. When you say mentors, by the way, advisor, mentor, are these paid? Like, are you paying somebody to do this?
It could be either way. But the most important thing is, do not confuse them with your partners, with VCs, because I would still get a mentor, and I would pay a mentor, because the mentor is someone who would, again, show me myself in the mirror, right? And but do not bring a mentor to from your VC, for example. Your VC is not, or venture capitalist is not your friend and is not your
Yeah.
mentor, because they have their own agenda. So yes, of course, they can become those. And ideally, you need to bring people who are vested into your long-term success. You know,
Yeah.
by giving them shares in your company. Those are the ones who really believe in your success more than, just short-term cash. And that's not consultancy. That's different from consultancy. They're not working on a specific project to tell you, you need to do this and this and this. They're teaching you how to fish. They're teaching you how to think differently and make decisions differently. So if they disappear, you know tomorrow, you still can make the right decisions. You're not dependent on them. Of course, if you keep them longer, they will keep evolving your mindset, because you're going to face lots of new situations every day. But they're working on what really stays within you more than anything else.
All right. I want to switch gears into AI. I know
Yeah, let's
a
do
lot
it.
of, let me just stop my phone. I just shut this phone off. I mean, it is going nuts. It is like every 2 minutes. This is a good problem to have. But so let's talk about AI, man. I mean, honestly, it's kind of I'm excited that you have a lot of experience in AI, and as of where it's May 2025. What are you most excited about with AI right now?
The opportunities that the AI is going to open up for entrepreneurs are, unimaginable. Think of it as another cycle of uh, tremendous or major technological advance. I'm old enough to that I've seen the dot com, and I've seen the cloud after that. So maybe we'll take the recent major development, which is the cloud. 2010 and after, everyone realized that, oh, I can build applications with just a few $100s or a few $1,000s maximum. I do not need to provision big infrastructure. And as a result of that, we had an explosion of startups that brought lots of innovative solutions and ideas, like Airbnb, Uber, and many, many, many others. I see also another, I would say, pattern taking place right now with AIs. But even I would say it's going to even be much bigger and much faster than before. I mean, think of I'm you know I'm building ideas now. I can build and validate an idea in 2 weeks. I used to do that in 3 months before. I can
Mm.
experiment with 3 ideas. I can actually I can make my employees superhumans in what they do. As a matter of fact, if someone comes to me and tells me I'm not using AI, I wouldn't hire them. I would say, no, I'm not going to fund your inefficiency. You need to
Mm.
use AI. So more experimentation, faster, I would say creation of startups. And also what really nice is now you need to focus as an entrepreneur, you need to focus on high level stuff. What's really the problem that you want to solve? You do not really need to be drawn into how do I implement it? How do I write code? You probably heard this from YC CEO, Y Combinator CEO. He said in the last batch, almost all the entrepreneurs reported that 90% or more of their code was written by AI for the solutions that they built for their startups. You see, it's just and by the way, the number of non-technical entrepreneurs even increased in those batches because now those guys can build
Yeah,
applications and almost write
that's right.
code without knowing anything about coding. So
That's
that's
right.
exciting. That's great.
That's that's such a good point. I mean, I can't. I've never wrote code in my life, but I built a voice agent and I had AI write the code for me,
There
and
we go. Yeah.
it is super effective. I just kept telling it, do this, tweak this, do it again, but tweak this, do it again, but add this pause here, and it was amazing, and it just kept spitting out.
Yep.
It's wild. So you did say though, you said you see some patterns taking place. What kind of shit? What are some examples of that? What are you referring to?
So first of all, I see especially younger entrepreneurs are using now the AI not as a tool but as their companion.
Mm,
And AI is not going to replace, any human. Just to be clear, I do not believe that AI is going to replace humans. It's just elevating what you need to do and care about. But the nice thing about AI, given its nature right now, it can trigger more of your curiosity. It can condense time and information for you. So rather than now going and collecting, I don't know, 10 reports about a subject, I can just go and do the deep research within ChatGPT. And within a few minutes, I can get condensed details or report about everything taking place in the market about certain things. This is very, very important. So having or using the AI as a companion, this means that it's going to trigger more creativity with you, right? So I'm thinking of a topic and I can go to AI and ask it, okay, what else do I need to think about? If
mm,
I'm developing this kind of application, like using the example that you just gave us, right? You can still ask about, okay, what my competitors are thinking of right now. Okay, what do you think is going to happen with my users? Here's also a really nice trick that I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing in the product validation. They interview, of course, prospects and potential customers, and they collect lots of notes from them. I see now entrepreneurs, what they're creating an AI persona that represents their target customer, and before they go and talk to real human, they get some basic validation from the AI. Okay, what do you think of this UI? What do you think of that problem? They have enough information and data about their target customers. Now again, it's not gonna replace talking to real humans, but it's going to accelerate your cycle, right? It's going to give you, okay, did you think about that? Did you think about this? So now when I go to the user, rather than iterating over 7 times, I can iterate only over 3 times with humans, and the other 4 iterations just took place with my AI, and that can make me just really do things much faster. So that's a big, I would say, big pattern that I'm seeing developing very quickly. The other thing also in the same, I would say, um, pattern of using the AI as a companion, and I do this every day, um, is uncovering your own inefficiencies and improvements. Think of it as your own coach, but in different ways. So every day, what I do is I journal everything I think I do every day. It doesn't have to be really long, but I talk about what went right, what went wrong, what was my emotions, what I was planning to do at the beginning of the day, and what I ended up doing. and then I collect all of that at the end of the week, feed it into the AI, and with a few prompts, what did I miss during that week? Am I over planning? Am I maybe overestimating my abilities? Right. And then over time, you collect more and more and more of these, and you start tweaking and adjusting yourself. And then you start asking the AI, is there more automation that I could do? Right. Is there something that I could do with some of my teammates, all right, or team members that could improve? Whatever that concerns you, journal it and then feed it into the AI at the end of whatever your reflection cycle. And then just you'll be surprised by the patterns that that you're going to get. Sometimes I even use the AI just to optimize my day if I'm traveling and need to meet lots of people, and I give the AI the location of different meetings. It just optimizes things for me and for my energy, because it now understands a lot of things about me. Again, it's a really cool use of the AI to improve and get a super version of yourself.
So let me ask you this: can the AI, and as we're gonna start wrapping up, but as I'm thinking, like, can the AI help the entrepreneurs with resilience and conditioning?
Yes, absolutely. It can. And I actually I use that myself. Again, it's not going to replace the mentor. It's going to help you to see the big picture. And that's what the thing that helped me with. Again, if I use that journal, if you document your emotions, just what happened, in my book,
Mm.
I talk a lot about the negative thoughts emotions loop. Every time there's an unexpected event takes place, some negative thoughts get triggers inside you, which trigger negative thoughts.
And you share those thoughts with your AI?
So sometimes I share some of them, yes, because at the end of the day, they're not secret. This is just me
That's
being human, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's just we all have
Aren't
fears.
you nervous somebody else would get access?
What's that?
Aren't you nervous like my AI might share those or use them against me, or somebody else
Well,
is mon
at the end of the day, look, David, if you're expecting a big customer to sign a contract with you and then they don't, isn't it natural for you to feel disappointed and
Of
start
course.
asking what
Yeah,
that? So
100%.
we wouldn't hide this. I wouldn't hide this. Why is that? This is not a weakness. This is being human, right?
Yes.
In my point of view, and being human and documenting those and reflecting on those is important. It will help you to reflect faster.
I
Well,
like it.
you can go through hundreds of pages if you want to, but again, we are in the era of we want to compress things. We want to compress information. We want to compress, how we think of ourselves so that we grow much faster than before.
So you know what I'm thinking about, Mo, as you're sharing this, would it make sense to create a project, and this would be a project in every day you just keep feeding it information, and then it starts to know you, and right? Do you understand you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah. That's what
Eh,
I do actually. It's one big document that I share, and then I add context
yeah.
about what I'm doing
Ah.
and who I am. I'll tell you this actually. It's similar to something I saw it actually at Microsoft and Amazon. Some of the big leaders, David, they would write their own manual and share it with their own teams. They would
Mm.
say, you know what? Here's the communication slide that I like. I like you to give me a context before answering question. I do not like you, for example, to randomize me with just a chat. If you have a big project that you want to discuss, book 30 minutes, give me this context before it, and let's chat. It's similar to this. That again, that's a practice that used to happen
Yeah.
among humans. So why don't you try that with AI? You'll be surprised. Now, if you're concerned about privacy, I understand that, but there are solutions to this, and that's again, it's a piece to help you look at things differently and improve and
Oh,
keep improving every day.
so important. I mean, I just can't. So many. I mean, we could go on for hours about this. I might have to have you on another time when we just talk about AI and different uses and hacks. And just a couple days ago, somebody sent me a message about something, a deal I'm working on, and I was going to respond. Like, I almost didn't even know how to respond with anything except like negativity and frustration, right? And I'm just being honest, like you said, like that was my first response. But before I wrote the email, I literally put it in AI, and I said, hey, this is what I just happened. I want to respond, but I want to be professional. I want to be empathetic. And you couldn't, the email it created was just amazing. Like it was
There we
such a
go.
win-win. I got
Exactly.
my message across that I wasn't excited about it, but it was a win at the end of the day, you know? Um,
Exactly. Exactly. Here,
yeah.
that's think of it as a tactical mentor helping you
Mm,
in those steps and making you better every day. And you'll be so I'm learning actually from those emails. I got similar situations in those emails, and I'm personally learning, and from those emails that the AI is crafting for me, so that I'm almost responding the same way in real life, when something happens and I don't have
mm,
the AI to consult. So
that's
it's
interesting.
refining you, right? It's refining you
Yes,
one
I
way or
like that.
another. So yeah, that's for entrepreneurship is important. But at the
Uh,
end of the day, maybe one point before we wrap it up, I would say to all the entrepreneurs, and I think you probably noticed that, David, you have to know the fundamentals anyways, right? You have to know the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. It has to be inside you. And then the AI is all about amplifying that for you, amplifying your voice, amplifying your intelligence, and adding on top of it. So that doesn't discount or just hide the fact that you still need to learn. You still need to be, again, human and deal with humans to give you those fundamentals, and then the AI can help you to do more.
I love it. Tell us about your book and how do people get a copy of it?
Absolutely. So the book is called as you mentioned, the Inside Out. So I'm holding a copy of it here for everyone to see it, just to get the visual clue. And they can find it definitely on Amazon. Another thing is I'm building a community called Boundless Founder. And the website is boundlessfounder.co. We'll have those in the show notes. And the community is all about, again, all the principles that we discussed today. How do you uh, build the right mindset and resiliency to start your journey? And of course, we are doing this by educating everyone on the fundamentals of the entrepreneurship, but from a different angle. For example, when you go and do sales, we talk also about not only the mechanics, but the psychology behind it, so that
Yeah.
you manage your mindset and you keep going. Again, the two stories that we mentioned, how do you recover in a very short time? And also, you connect through Boundless Founder to other entrepreneurs, think with them about the challenges, and hopefully get solutions from them. I mean, my main goal is to connect like-minded people or entrepreneurs together, with the framework that I talk a lot about in the book.
Well, man, I appreciate having you being on the show. I think I have a new book idea. It's called From 4 Weeks to 2 Hours. And I love that. I think that that's for anybody listening. I mean, you got to figure that out. Like, when stuff, I mean, it's like being an entrepreneur, and this, it's like it's just about all the things that are coming at you all day. And it's not like it gets easier as you get more successful and you do more things. There's more challenges.
Yep.
But that's right, like that's the gift, to be able to get through all that. And I love utilizing the AI to help with a lot of
Oh
that
yeah,
stuff too.
can help a lot. We talk a lot about that. You can get
Yeah,
lots of prompts also in the community, and how to use the AI as a companion. But
yeah,
yeah, there's
good
it's
stuff.
all as that's why I call the book the Inside Out. It's all starts from within, and once you have the right perspective, it's going to become a rewarding journey. Not easier, but rewarding. You're going to grow every day.
Yeah, I love it. Hey guys, well, as you go grab a copy of Mo's book, I also want to let you know about our AI, our voice agent. And so I want you to test it out. Okay, go take your own test demo. Go dial right now, just wherever you are. If you're driving, then you'll be safe, but write down this number, maybe pull over 774-214-2076. 774-214-2076. Go call that number, check out our voice agent, let me know what you think, and give me some feedback. And we'd love to talk to you about how to get a voice agent working in your business right now. So, Mohamed, I appreciate you being here, brother. I'm gonna give you the last word.
Hey,
What do
thank
you
you
want
very
to
much.
say to our listeners?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, David, for having me. It's a pleasure, definitely, to be here with you discussing the AI and the impact of AI on entrepreneurship. Again, for everyone, know your fundamentals, invest in yourself a lot. Make sure that you're starting the journey or continue, in your journey in a way that would make it rewarding to you. That's what really matter. Your startup, your business, it's just a manifestation of who you are, but it does not define who you are. So it's important to have that proper separation between who you are and what you do, and then everything will be much easier. And I wish good luck to everyone, and I hope to connect with everyone. Please reach out.
All right, awesome. You on LinkedIn? Best way to get you, LinkedIn. Which
Absolutely.
social
Yeah.
channel?
Yeah. Everyone can search me up on Google, Mohamed F. Ahmed or Boundless Founder, and they're going to hopefully find me in the first few search results.
All right, guys. Thanks again for listening to the Persistent Entrepreneur Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you connect with me as well on some socials. And man, go get yourself a copy of Mohammed's book and focus on, let's take that 4 weeks, guys. It's at 2 hours or 30 minutes is even better. Thanks again, Mohammed. Appreciate you.
Thank you, David.